This video is about China's BRI and projects with other countries to help build their infrastructure. First is the affordable housing project in Park Road, in Kenya's capital city Nairobi, in which 1,370 housing units were constructed. The projects in Argentina is where the two countries work together in building a new energy light rail trains especially designed for Argentina. Because Cyrus's video is done so well that I couldn't help but pretty much use his full video. Cyrus' video is full of facts and great points backed with numbers that were all excellent, and so important that I feel that it is needed to be shared with others. Bitten's video is also excellent in that it is about West Asia and it also shows the amount of effort and research done. So I highly suggest people to look them up if they are interested in getting more information about BRI and projects that China has done with other countries. Also information about China in general as well.
According to a report by the United Nations Habitat, the population living in urban areas in Africa is expected to reach 60% by the year 2050. Here in Kenya, already 65% of the urban population are living in informal settlements, popularly known as slums. Evidence of the shortage of housing, decent housing needed by many. The Kenya government, however, launched a project to improve the living conditions of many Kenyans who are before living in squalid conditions. This is through such projects such as this, that is the pilot project that was completed in 2022 that allows Kenyans to own these homes at a very affordable rate.
The affordable housing project in Park Road, Kenya's capital city, Nairobi, boasts a construction area of 123,000 square meters and 1,370 housing units. It's one of the key projects of the China proposed Belt and Road initiative, undertaken by China State Construction Engineering Corporation as the main contractor.
There still is a shortage of housing. As you are aware, in Nairobi, a good percentage of our population lives in informal settlements. So the intent is to move everybody who is in informal settlements to a more formal setting that has amenities and give every citizen dignified, affordable housing. We chose to partner with China State Corporation for one main reason. We felt that they have the capacity to deliver the project. We knew once we go into that job, we will have no problem. We felt that they had the technical expertise, the financial expertise, and just general experience in the region, in Africa, to be able to deliver such a project.
The project was officially started in February 2019 and completed to acceptance stage in October 2020, 75 days ahead of the contract period.
I was living in Sinai slums. I think these are the best houses the one can get here around here. We have my own parking. These houses have 3 lifts, as you could see. We have our security. We have a perimeter wall. We have water. Electricity is reliable. I think this is the best place that somebody can live here. Yeah. These people, the Chinese, I think they are the best builders.
We are happy to be part of this project. The project is very well, the quality is nice, and it's very convenient going to the city. And we never run out of water. The parking is ample. The environment is very quiet. So that's what I love about it. Actually, we have very many schools. Okay, we have a kindergarten inside here, which is very, very, very good for the kids instead of crossing the road. Where we used to live, okay, it's so scattered. What I love about the Chinese companies, they are very convenient. They give quality.
我们整车设计了一个采用这种大车窗搭配这种小边顶的这种方式，这种 可以让乘客有一种沉浸式的观景体验。
Estamos muy satisfechos con la tecnología y que cumplieron en calidad y en los servicios que va a tener este tren. Va a traer mucha alegría a las poblaciones en la cual va a pasar el tren. En corto plazo, esta nueva tecnología verde, limpia y muy linda y muy bien terminada para nosotros, los jujeños.
Con tecnologías que nosotros mismos podemos producir, el litio que viene de Jujuy, no solo local en Argentina y en Jujuy, sino en el mundo, va a ser una nueva tecnología que va a generar muchos más de estos en el mundo. El combate contra el cambio climático, el combate contra la huella de carbono que...
With the creation of the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013. The BRI has been a fantastic opportunity for Chinese investment, as well for ASEAN countries to develop their own economies and solve their direct needs of improved transportation, energy solutions, and shifting to a digital lifestyle, all things China has successfully accomplished in the past 2 decades. Since 2009, China has been ASEAN's most important trading partner. Over the past 2 years, the ASEAN network has remained China's top trading partner, and as of October 2022, two-way commerce had already reached 5.26 trillion yuan, or 15.2% of China's total exports and imports. Consider the country of Malaysia. In just 3 years after the BRI's inception, Chinese investment in the country grew a whopping 1,000% and has been the largest recipient among all Southeast Asian countries for the past 10 years. Not only that, but Malaysia's BRI projects are the widest in scope, largest in scale, and some of the fastest in implementation in all of Southeast Asia. For example, the East Coast Rail Link, ECRL, is a massive $27 billion railway mega project that was awarded to China Communication Construction Company and is still currently under construction. It will connect the country's east and west coast and be an epic 700 kilometers long. Of the 23,000 workers working on this project, 70% of them are locals, which has significantly helped stimulate the nation's economy. Once finished, it will substantially increase domestic connectivity and facilitate trade and other economic exchanges. To date, it is Malaysia's largest infrastructure project, but this project is not without its controversy and was linked to one of the largest financial scandals in world history. Is China to blame for this, or is there more to the story that most people haven't heard of yet? Stay tuned to the end of today's video and I'll reveal to you the shocking truth. But first, let me highlight one of the most successful China-backed projects, and that is the Malaysia-China Kuantan Industrial Park. This sprawling 3,500-acre industrial park opened in 2013 on the country's east coast and was built in response to the China-Malaysia Qinzhou Industrial Park, located in Guangxi, China. These are the first sister industrial parks in different countries, which has helped pioneer a new model of international cooperation. Since opening, it has attracted major foreign investment and spurred international trade. More than 200 projects have been signed, with total investment exceeding $25 billion and tens of thousands of local jobs created. This kind of heavy engagement with China can be seen all across Southeast Asia. In Indonesia, Southeast Asia's most populous country and the de facto leader of ASEAN, China is building the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail. This 142-kilometer long, $8 billion project will connect the country's largest 2 cities on its most populous island of Java and reduce travel time from 3.5 hours down to 36 minutes. This is the flagship BRI project in the country and employs 2,000 locals and is expected to open this year. Interestingly, this will also be Southeast Asia's first high-speed rail line, meaning it will be able to handle speeds above 250 kilometers per hour. Indonesia also hosts nearly half of the 8 overseas industrial parks that China has established across Asian member states. One such park, the Indonesia Morowali Industrial Park, employs a massive 43,000 workers, and close to 90% of them are local hires. Indonesia epitomizes a nation whose needs perfectly align with what the BRI offers. As a country troubled by underdeveloped infrastructure, low human capital, and an unfavorable regulatory framework, Indonesia has long suffered from a lack of competitiveness and prevented the nation from becoming a global trade hub, let alone a regional one. In fact, Indonesia's share in world trade is even smaller than that of smaller neighboring countries, such as Malaysia, Thailand, and even Singapore. This is despite the nation's strategic location in the Indo-Pacific and it being the biggest economy by far in Southeast Asia, as well as the world's fourth most populous country. As a result, the country has desperately sought to upgrade its infrastructure, improve connectivity between its many islands, and modernize its economy. However, as is common among developing nations, it can't afford the enormous price tag of such a vast endeavor, and this is where China's capital has come to the rescue. Fast forward to today, and China has become the nation's largest trading partner for the past 10 years, as well as its largest foreign investor since 2019. Indonesia's president Joko Widodo even went as far to say this of the BRI: "It is not merely talk, but it is about actually building something. From airports to railways, these are industries we can see and touch. This is exactly the sort of courage and real action the world needs right now." This perfect synergy between a country's needs and aims and what the BRI offers can be seen all across Southeast Asia. And as I've shown time and time again in previous videos, the truth is that countries all across the world who have joined the BRI have been very clear on what they're getting into. China's BRI projects are recipient-driven, meaning it's the receiving country who approaches China to fund these projects, not the other way around. Everywhere, China is building high-speed railways, industrial parks, business districts, and other large projects which improve the recipient country's trade connectivity and create thousands of local jobs. But Western media will do anything they can to discredit China's accomplishments in the region. Let me show you the latest propaganda piece from Reuters that will absolutely shock you. Reuters sent out this tweet on May 18th that garnered nearly 2 million views. And just look at how desperate they have become to speak negatively about China. China, the birthplace of the COVID pandemic, is laying tracks for another global health crisis. I find it hard to believe that Reuters would publish such garbage on their platform, especially when another Reuters article immediately disproves this claim. Coronavirus trace found in March 2019 sewage sample, Spanish study shows. And we wonder why people have lost trust in traditional Western media. Laos has the unfortunate reputation of being the most bombed nation in history, with the United States dropping over 2 million bombs on Laos from 1964 to 1973. Laos is Southeast Asia's only landlocked country, giving it a major competitive disadvantage in trade, and this new China-built railway link will extend throughout the entire country and finally give Laos a chance it needs to expand its regional trade with its Southeast Asian neighbors. In short, the China-Laos Railway is an absolute game changer for Laos, and this is the story that Reuters should be reporting. Of course, successful partnerships and win-win deals with China doesn't sell to Reuters' core audience. But this is what inspires me to spend hours researching these topics and making informative YouTube videos like this so the entire world can learn the truth. Let's visit another smaller nation in Southeast Asia that is receiving significant help from China, and that is Myanmar. The Chaopyu Port is the flagship project under the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, CMEC, which is itself one of the most important undertakings of the Belt and Road Initiative. China is funding 70% of the total investment of the $1.3 billion for the project, and Myanmar is contributing the remaining 30%. Once completed, the port will serve as a major entry port for China into the Indian Ocean and a connection point for Myanmar to tap into China's booming economy. Increased commerce and investment, better infrastructural connectivity, and new job opportunities are just some of the ways in which its development is predicted to benefit local and regional economies. Upon completion, the project is expected to generate $3.2 billion in gross output, employ up to 100,000 locals, and bring in $15 billion in tax revenue for Myanmar. The common theme amongst all these projects is increasing trade and connectivity between Southeast Asian countries, and the best project to achieve this goal is the Pan-Asian Railway Network. The network consists of 3 routes. Route 1 travels west through Myanmar and Thailand. Route 2 travels east through Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. Route 3 travels centrally from Kunming in southern China to Bangkok in Thailand by way of Laos. The economic growth that the Pan-Asian Railway network is expected to bring will be substantial, with improved connectivity between nations and their capitals, providing better access to foreign markets and goods. This increased integration of markets is beneficial for all countries involved, as it creates opportunities for people to travel, trade goods and services, increase tourism, and generally improve their standard of living. China is playing a large role in the development of these railways, and like the map says, all railroads lead to China. But as amazing as these projects sound, and as healthy as China's relations with its neighbors may be, it's not all sunshine and roses, and I wouldn't be fair and balanced if I didn't address this. Critics will be quick to point out that in many Southeast Asian nations, there is concern towards China's growing economic presence, but the reason for this dissatisfaction will completely shock you. And as promised at the beginning of this video, I'm going to reveal it to you right now. The truth is that in such cases, the resentment was ironically often caused not by China's actions, but those of the recipient countries. Sound absurd? Let me give you an example. Earlier I mentioned the China Finance Project in Malaysia, the nation's largest infrastructure project to date. It has faced plenty of public criticism, eventually culminating in the Malaysian government suspending it and renegotiating its terms. But the cause for this is not what you might expect. As it turns out, this project unwittingly became embroiled in the infamous 1MDB corruption scandal, in which the country's sovereign wealth fund was systematically embezzled by top-level officials in the Malaysian government, including the then Prime Minister Najib Razak. Described as one of the world's greatest financial scandals, and even the largest kleptocracy case to date by the US Department of Justice, this scandal had global implications with individuals and companies around the world involved. In short, Prime Minister Razak and other top-level officials inflated the cost of the railway and other projects and attempted to use those funds to pay off the wealth fund's massive debt. Simply put, this BRI project inadvertently became entangled in a local crime, and China was used as a convenient scapegoat when the Malaysian government's actions were discovered. And here is where things get very interesting. The next Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohamad, used this scandal as well as a classic debt trap narrative to topple Razak in 2018. Interesting, however, while Mohamad initially canceled the ECRL as well as other key BRI projects, he quickly reverted course and revived these projects after renegotiating better deals. Referring to the controversy surrounding these BRI projects, Mohamad stated, "This is our own people's stupidity. We can't blame the Chinese for that." He went on to share the following highly revealing insight about the Belt and Road Initiative. At the beginning, we thought that the BRI was for China to dominate in ASEAN and Asia because the BRI is the passageway for trade through the Straits of Malacca and the South China Sea, and we had believed China wanted to gain control. Now we realize this initiative is not being dominated by China. The suggestions are not only from China, but also views from other countries. This will be a creation by all involved nations. I have more understanding, and this makes it easier for us to support it. This is an extraordinary insight and one that you will never hear in Western media. Altogether, the Malaysian Railway project clearly shows how Malaysia has persistently embraced the BRI even during the middle of a massive corruption scandal from Malaysia's own government officials. This also perfectly illustrates how Malaysia and countless other nations across the globe deeply understand just how indispensable China is to the development and modernization of their own economies.
Recently, it seems the news is only focused on negative stories about China, and I wanted to show a different side of the stories to see if China is actually helping or hurting Asia. China is accused of all manner of nonsense, from debt traps to aggression towards its neighbors. So I wanted to show how China is actually helping build infrastructure and economies in Asia. In this video, I will show you a few mega projects that China has been building and talk about how China is actually helping other Asian nations develop. It is easy to get caught up in negative news stories and miss some of the more positive stories about Asia. So let's jump right in and see how China has been working with its Asian neighbors. We will start this list off with the Lotus Tower in Colombo, Sri Lanka. According to the Daily Mirror, Chinese loans have aided the construction of the Lotus Tower, a 350-meter lotus-like structure that is the tallest building in South Asia. The opening ceremony was held on the 16th of September 2019, and according to reports, the lotus-shaped tower is used for communications, observation, and other leisure facilities. Construction is estimated to cost around $113 million US. Despite the ongoing issues in Sri Lanka, Yeah, there's ongoing issues, Ethel. Despite the ongoing issues in Sri Lanka, we can see that Chinese companies in financing were vital in the construction of this landmark building. It is a landmark building, Ethel. Since completion, the Lotus Tower has become a popular tourist destination and was seen as a symbol of Sri Lanka's economic growth and development. Although Sri Lanka's economy has imploded based on bad governance and mismanagement of resources, we can see that China was working closely with the country to improve its economy and infrastructure, including ports, roads, airports, and commercial real estate. Speaking of roads and public infrastructure, let's move on to number 9 on our list and look at how China is helping Uzbekistan. First off, China is Uzbekistan's largest trading partner, and the two countries have signed a number of economic cooperation agreements. China has also provided Uzbekistan with loans and grants to help with infrastructure development and economic reforms. Most notably, during a presidential visit to China in 2017, the two countries signed 115 deals worth more than 23 billion US dollars, which included cooperations in electrical power, oil production, chemicals, architecture, textiles, pharmaceuticals, engineering, transportation, infrastructure, and agriculture. One good example of China's involvement in helping Uzbekistan grow is the Oltin Oli gas and liquid processing plant. According to aid data, the Oltin Oli GTL plant will seek to produce synthetic liquid fuels based on purified methane from the Shrolten gas chemical complex. The total cost of the plant is 3.7 billion US dollars, and the China Development Bank reportedly contributed 1.2 billion US dollar of debt for this project in 2017. More recently, in 2021, China and Uzbekistan signed agreements worth around 15 billion US dollars, covering trade, investment, financial, and technical cooperations. The agreements were signed during a meeting between the two presidents on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. The agreement will extend trade and economic cooperation, develop e-commerce and implementation of industrial cooperation projects, and invest in areas such as the automotive industry, green energy, agriculture, and infrastructure development, as well as a free trade industrial zone. Again, these agreements show how China is working with their trading partners and neighbors to create economic opportunities for both nations. The agreements are also a sign of Uzbekistan's commitment to economic reform and modernization. The country has been undergoing a number of reforms in recent years, and the agreements with China are a sign of the international community's support for these reforms. Next on our list at number 8 is the Myanmar-China oil and gas pipeline projects. The 800-kilometer long oil and natural gas twin pipelines that run from Myanmar to China are a major infrastructure project that was completed in 2013. The pipelines are owned and operated by the China National Petroleum Corporation. And according to the BRI Monitor, the oil pipeline carries 22 million tons of oil per year to the city of Kunming in China. The natural gas pipeline carries 12 billion cubic meters of gas per year from Myanmar to the city of Chongqing in China. The pipelines are a major strategic asset for China, which provide China with a secure and reliable source of energy from a friendly neighbor. The pipelines also help to diversify China's energy sources and reduce its reliance on oil production from the Middle East. The construction of the pipelines helped Myanmar by creating thousands of jobs. According to the World Bank, the pipelines created an estimated 100,000 jobs during the construction phase. The project not only created jobs, but it has also generated billions of dollars in revenue for Myanmar. The government of Myanmar receives a share of the profit from the pipelines, and in 2017, the government of Myanmar received around 1.2 billion US dollars in revenue from the pipelines. These projects are now part of the bigger project called the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, which is a series of projects designed to improve Myanmar's infrastructure and economy. Speaking of corridors, up next on our list at number 7 is the Western Europe-Western China Expressway. The Western Europe-Western China Expressway, also known as the New Silk Road, is a transcontinental expressway linking China's Yellow Sea coast with Eastern Europe. The expressway is 8,445 kilometers long and passes through China, Kazakhstan, and Russia. It was completed in 2018 and is one of the longest roads in the world. The expressway has been praised for its economic and strategic benefits. It is expected to reduce transportation costs and time between China and Europe, and it will also help to promote regional integration. The total cost of building the Western Europe-Western China Expressway is unknown. However, estimates range from around 10 billion to 20 billion US dollars. The costs of the project vary depending on the country in which it was built. For example, the cost of the expressway in China is much lower than the cost of the expressway in Kazakhstan. Overall, the cost of the expressway was a major factor in the decision to build it, but the Chinese government believed that the economic benefits of the expressway would outweigh the cost of construction. The expressway is expected to boost trade and economic cooperation between China and its partners, and it is also expected to create jobs in China, Kazakhstan, and Russia. Again, we see that China is working with other nations in Asia to develop and build infrastructure that will foster economic growth not only for China, but for the entire region. China and Russia have been working more closely in the last few years, and many landlocked nations are looking to benefit from these growing ties. Another good example of a landlocked nation in Asia looking to become a transit hub is Kyrgyzstan, which brings us to number 6 on our list. One project that is finally making some headway is the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan, or the CKU Railway, which was first proposed back in the 1990s. According to reports, China first built its own railway reaching 2 cities near the border, Aksu and Kashgar, in 1998 and 2003. The 2000s were a decade where several key Chinese energy and infrastructure projects in Central Asia also took shape. The Chinese oil pipeline from Kazakhstan started operation in 2010, and the gas pipeline from Turkmenistan also was completed in 2009. Needless to say, the construction of the CKU railway was gaining momentum, along with a regional perspective that viewed China as a new economic provider. However, despite the rapid growth of bilateral trade between China and Kyrgyzstan in the 2000s, from around 118 million in 2001 to 5.2 billion in 2009, both sides struggled to agree on the financing method for the $2 billion railway. While China has found it difficult to push the project on its own, a shift in the regional environment has prompted other parties to come in and help the project. There is still a lot of work to be done on this project, but all the nations involved seem to be working together to push the project forward. This railway link will allow for more goods to pass into and through Kyrgyzstan, which should allow for the nation to benefit from transit taxes and imports and exports. Only time will tell how successful this project is if and when it is completed. But despite the outcome, it is clear that China is working with its neighbors to develop infrastructure projects and increase trade. Number 5 on our list is the Gardar Port in Pakistan. China has played a major role in developing this port. The port is located on the Arabian Sea, and it is strategically located at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. It is expected to become a major trade and transit hub for the region. China has invested billions of dollars in the development of the Gardar Port. The Chinese government has built a new deepwater port, a new airport, a new road and rail network, and China has also built a number of commercial and residential buildings in the area. The development of the port is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is a global infrastructure project that aims to connect Asia, Africa, and Europe. The port is seen as an important part of the BRI, as it will provide China with a strategic foothold in the Indian Ocean. Because of recent economic issues in Pakistan, some have pointed to the project as a waste of money and resources, but despite the critics, the project is an example of China's desire to develop new markets and trade routes. Moving on to Tajikistan, we have the Dushanbe No. 2 power station at number 4 on our list. The station is a 400 megawatt coal-fired power station in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. It was built by China's TBEA Corporation and was commissioned in 2014. The plant is owned and operated by a national electric utility company in Tajikistan. The Dushanbe No. 2 power station is the largest power plant in Tajikistan and accounts for over 50% of the country's electricity generation. The plant uses coal from coal mines in Tajikistan, and the coal is transported there by rail. The power station is an important source of electricity for the nation. The plant has helped to meet the country's growing demand for electricity, and it has also helped to reduce the nation's reliance on imported electricity. Coming in at number 3 is Turkmenistan. China has been working on a number of major projects with Turkmenistan. These projects are part of China's Belt and Road Initiative and include a gas pipeline, a railway, and a free trade zone. According to reports, the Central Asia-China gas pipeline is a natural gas pipeline system that connects Central Asia to Xinjiang. This pipeline allows for the transportation of gas across 7,000 kilometers from Turkmenistan to Shanghai by joining it to China's domestic grid. The pipeline transports more than half of Turkmenistan's natural gas exports to China. The first of these pipelines were completed in 2009, with the second one following the year after, and a third pipeline became operational in 2014, after taking 2 years to build it. According to China National Petroleum Corporation, the inflow of Turkmen gas helps China meet its energy demands and stabilizes the country's overall consumption structure. The pipeline has boosted the natural gas proportion of China's energy consumption by 2% and has helped reduce pollution. Another project helping Turkmenistan is the China-Turkmenistan Railway. It is a railway line that is under construction that will connect Xinjiang with Turkmenistan. The railway is part of the China Central Asia West Asia Railway Network, which is being developed by China. The China-Turkmenistan Railway is expected to be 752 kilometers long and will have a design speed of 120 kilometers per hour. The railway is expected to be completed in 2025. The railway will reduce transportation costs between China and Central Asia. This will make it easier for Chinese businesses to export goods to Central Asia and for Central Asian businesses to export goods to China. China is also working with Turkmenistan to establish a free trade zone. This zone will allow for foreign businesses to set up companies within the zone and benefit from tax breaks and lower property rates. China has been helping many nations implement free trade zones with varying success. China has used this model to spur economic growth within China, but it is yet to be seen how successful these strategies will work in other countries. Moving away from the stands and floating out to sea, we have the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge at number 2 on our list. The bridge is a 1.3 kilometer long bridge that connects the capital city of Mel to the Homal Island, which is home to the Velal International Airport. The bridge was built by the Chinese government and opened in 2018. It is the first bridge in the Maldives that has significantly reduced travel time between the two islands. The bridge is part of a larger Chinese-funded development project in the Maldives, which include the construction of a new airport terminal and a convention center. The project is seen as a sign of China's growing economic and strategic influence in the Indian Ocean region. The Chinese government agreed to finance the bridge project during President Xi Jinping's historic visit to the Maldives in September 2014. The bridge was estimated to cost around $210 million and was financed with $126 million in grant aid and a concessionary loan from China, along with $12.6 million from the Maldivian state budget. This is just one of the many projects China has proposed to help build the small nation, and another example of China's willingness to work with its Asian partners. Number 1 on this list is the Kunming to Singapore Railway. This is a high-speed railway project that will connect the city of Kunming in China to Singapore. The railway is part of the China-Singapore Railway Link, a larger project that aims to connect China and Singapore by rail. It will be a high-speed railway with a maximum speed of 350 kilometers per hour. The railway will be 3,900 kilometers long, and it is expected to take about 24 hours to travel from Kunming to Singapore. The railway will start or end, depending on how you look at it, in China and will pass through Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, and into Singapore. Construction began in 2011 and it is expected to be completed in 2027. The project is expected to cost around $15 billion, and the railway is expected to boost economic growth in the region and is expected to create jobs, attract foreign investment, and improve connectivity in Asia. This is just another example of how China is working with many of its Asian neighbors to develop and grow. As you can see from these 10 mega projects, China is a major player in the region and is working to develop the infrastructure and economies of Asia. Despite many setbacks and failures, China has been pushing forward to help build a prosperous region. Many critics will say China is setting up debt traps, but it takes away all the agency from the independent nations. No nation is forced to work with China on these mega projects, but they choose to work with China because of the opportunities provided. Many of these nations desperately need infrastructure and economic development, which China is willing to provide with fewer strings attached. To say China is actively deceiving these nations is basically saying these nations don't know what's best for their own development and that they can't make financial decisions on their own. So what do you think? Is China trying to develop new markets for its exports and companies, or are they trying to debt trap their neighbors for their own gain?
Thanks for watching the video, and please consider liking, sharing, commenting and subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much.